All right, so hi everyone, and thanks for joining us today for the webinar we co-organize with Breezeway. So thanks a lot, Tucker, for being present today and take the time to share with us some recommendations Breezeway team have, especially in regards to cleaning operations, but also maintenance and different operations property managers may have in their properties. So this presentation will probably last 10 to 15 minutes. For now, the microphones are muted, but as soon as the presentation will be finished, I will unmute the microphones so that if there is any questions, we can have a short Q&A session. And yeah, so we'll first go through some recommendations regarding the current situation, and then Tuka will explain a bit how the Breezeway software is working. So thanks a lot, Tuka, and yeah, I let you go ahead.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Audrey. Appreciate you giving a nice intro. Again, my name is Tucker. I am the head of inside sales here at Breezeway. We are a BookingSync partner, and we have been for a number of years. So excited to continue to strengthen the relationship there. With regards to our business as a whole, we've been around for around 5 or 6 years, and we're working with over 60,000 unique units to, as you said, help keep them clean and disinfected and sterilized, which as of lately, of course, goes without saying, is becoming increasingly more relevant and more important for your guests as well as your owners. So excited to delve in a little bit to what we're thinking about today. So with that being said, why don't I switch the slide here. Cool. So getting into it, are you able to see this now, the full screen?
Yep, all good. Perfect.
Fantastic. Yeah. So as I was saying, we've been doing this for a number of years. Breezeway, again, we have been beating this drum of what's important to guests is cleanliness. And now it just so happens is, taking a sort of spot in the center stage with regards to folks traveling, as well as making sure that when your guests or your owners come into your properties, they are diligently cleaned and disinfected. And not only that, but that the folks who are entering them know that. So again, we've been doing this for a long time, and now it just so happens to be one of the most important things on people's minds. So we'll talk a little bit about how we think through that, how we'll work together with BookingSync to ensure efficiency with regards to your operations, and never leave your guests wondering, right? We want to instill confidence in the clean, whether it's a guest or an owner. We do think that the owners are probably going to be the first folks who re-enter the travel market if they're lucky enough to have a property with you in your portfolio. Chances are by the time this quarantine starts to wind down, they'll be the first ones to take a step out of their property and go to maybe their second home. And that's going to be your first opportunity. They'll be your first guests who are going to come in and wonder basically what was done to efficiently and effectively disinfect this property before I'm coming here with my family, and really ensuring that it's a safe space. So we'll talk a little bit about that, as well as how you can communicate that to them, and then what you can do to increase that efficiency, and frankly what you can do during this downtime. Everyone is quarantined right now, so making sure that folks can stay busy, giving your staff things to do is it's paramount. These people depend on their paychecks, so finding stuff for them to do and making sure that they're not sitting by idly is increasingly important as well. So again, as we've been saying, the hygiene and the attention to detail in the physical space is and has been important, but increasingly so with regards to disinfecting and sterilizing a property. When folks do begin to travel again, I can't imagine that they're going to walk into a new place and say, oh, I believe this is clean, everything is normal. The normal that we enter post-quarantine and post-coronavirus will likely be a different type of normal, one where people continue to practice this hygiene at a different level of OCD, if you will. Like, I will be certainly carrying around a bottle of Purell with me for a long time to come, and I imagine I'm not the only one. So the way that we think that folks will re-enter the travel world is going to be slowly at first, and then continue to grow from there. So we're banking on the fact that folks will gravitate towards these drive-to destinations. So anywhere that's 2 or 3 hours outside of a city, somewhere that folks can load their family up into their car and drive to within a day or so, will likely be the first markets to start to see this resurgence. We are seeing that in some areas in Europe, where you are, Audrey, and even in pockets in the US as well. Again, these drive-to destinations are starting to see a small resurgence, and even just a smaller downtick than the urban areas that you'll see. Along with that, vacation rentals do continue to offer this allure that hotels may not have, or hotel or any sort of other traditional accommodation, mainly because of a couple things. One, folks will have their own unique space, right? They're not going to be surrounded by strangers and other travelers in the hotel lobby or in the hotel restaurant or bar. They're going to be able to just go to a property that's going to become all their own. Keyless entry, so not having to deal with anybody face to face or hand to hand is going to go a long way. So vacation rentals, this is a silver lining. They're going to be well positioned to come back likely faster or sooner than the traditional hospitality industry. So we're definitely excited about that, and in trying to keep an optimistic approach with what we have going for us. But how that will work is going to be dependent on what you can do now, or what you do now, to make sure that you're positioned in a way to take advantage of that new opportunity, right? If you are making sure that the properties are clean and disinfected every single time, well, you need to make sure that your guests know that, right? Otherwise, they're going to, again, continue to wonder if this has happened. And we want to make sure that they don't have to wonder that, right? So what you can do now is dial in your housekeeping protocols and procedures, as it says there, and make sure that you're coordinating staff that go and carry out tasks that are up to this level of standard, up to this expectation. There's been an increasing amount of expectation as vacation rental property managers are meeting the demand of travelers who are expecting this high level hospitality level service. And that was before coronavirus, and now it's only going to continue to compound as we all emerge from this situation. But it's paramount that you're communicating that value and that process and that protocol to these folks in a way that leaves nothing up for grabs, or nothing up to the imagination, right? We want to make sure that they know without a doubt this property is clean, sterile, and disinfected. So again, what you can do now is begin to dial in those processes and procedures, and also, take a look in the mirror. Like, what have we been doing today? Will that work after this? It will be a new normal. So asking those hard questions, evaluating your staff and your process and your protocol and all those different things that you have been doing that have gotten you this far, and just wondering what those will be like in a post-coronavirus travel environment. And Breezeway as a whole, not to plug our platform too much, but a lot of the stuff that we're talking about is directly in line with how we're helping folks. And I'll take you through a quick look at one of our dashboards at the end of this presentation to highlight how we think about this. But any and all of the stuff that we're talking through today is, again, our core competency and has been for a number of years. So any guidance that we can provide, we're really aiming to be a helpful partner for folks given the circumstances. So one example of that is a disinfect and deep clean checklist. We've put together something for our customers and folks who aren't our customers. This is a public facing resource. You can find it on our website, breezeway.io/COVID-19. And again, we really just want to be a great resource for folks, whether you're a customer of ours or not, really just because this is it's a troubling time for our industry as a whole. And as we go to market, it's important that everybody, meaning all of the property managers, are all marketing these, these really detailed and diligent cleaning procedures, so that everybody can come back in a strong way. So again, we have this deep clean and disinfect checklist. But from an operational standpoint, these are the type of questions that you'll have to ask, right? How frequently are we deep cleaning these properties in between guests? Do we offer downtime? Like, do we need to space out our bookings to make sure that there's time for someone to go in there? And are my staff going to be safe when they enter this property? And then, what type of government organizations or leading authorities are in line with these checklists? Can we say this checklist at this property is CDC or NHS compliant? And again, just leaving none of that up to question or up to the imagination of a guest, making sure that you're taking the time to do the clean the right way, but also tell them that you are. So some folks we work with, they work with third-party service partners. Increasingly important to hold them accountable for what they're doing. Other folks have in-house cleaning and maintenance staff. So depending on the way your organization is set up, this could be a little bit different. But again, now's a good time to audit your operations, take a look in the mirror, understand if what you were doing yesterday will be appropriate tomorrow. Can you go to market the same way that you have been? And chances are there will be some adjustments that you'll need to make. So a couple things that we really like to key in on is making sure that you're holding your service partners, whether they're third party or your cleaning staff in-house, hold them accountable. So, make sure that they go through and fill out the checklist. They're being diligent about using the checklist that you provide for them to live up to those CDC compliance standards. Another piece is just this proactive asset management piece, right? Like, if you have reoccurring tasks for some of the high ticket appliances and some of the more critical elements of your property, your water heater, your boiler, etc., making sure that there's just tons of efficiency in that process, because chances are you could be entering a world with more work on your plate and less resources. A lot of folks that we talk to are furloughing staff for the time being. These are revenue-driven businesses, and with no revenue, you can't necessarily accommodate the same headcount as before. So now you'll be asked to do more work, and you'll have a leaner team potentially. So efficiency is going to become increasingly important there as well. And again, bleeds into some of the stuff I'll take a look at the end, but really an area that Breezeway can shine is helping you coordinate these remote tasks with a smaller team, and making sure that folks are in the right place at the right time, doing the right task to the right property, and doing so in a real effective and efficient manner. So one example, there really are multiple points of communication here that we talk about, and this is all in our resource center on that URL I mentioned as well, COVID-19. But you're going to be communicating with your guests, you're going to be communicating with your owners, you're going to be communicating with your staff, and all of those different touch points, they do need to be incredibly efficient. You can't spend time as a manager, as a housekeeping manager, whatever sort of function you have, if it's any way revolving around daily operations of the business, you need to make sure that you're spending your time really, really efficiently. And so automating some of this communication goes a really long way, whether it's automatically sending out messages to your owners about what you've done, proactively suggesting to the guests that they take a look at your checklist, and making sure that your staff, again, you don't have to be texting them all day, this property's ready, go to this property, back and forth with different members, who needs to go where, when. Anything you can do to streamline and automate that process will pay dividends exponentially after the fact, and especially once this entire situation is cleared up, you'll be better off for it. So again, something we've been talking about again from the inception of Breezeway is just this heightened expectation, and now more than ever, how do people know that your properties are clean, and how do you provide this hospitality level of service every single time? So something that a lot of our customers are talking about, and I think property managers in general, whether they're using Breezeway or not, doesn't matter, but you're going to need to start marketing your cleaning procedures one way or another, whether it's on your website. We know some folks that are actually putting the cleaning procedures on their Airbnb listing, on their Vrbo listings, whatever, adding photos of what they're doing to those listings so that there's no room for interpretation from the guests. They know before they even book a property what type of detail is being taken care of before they before they make that decision. And I think that's going to be something that's going to be increasingly at the front of people's minds. If it was in the back of their minds before, it's definitely going to be at the forefront of their of their decision making process today. So with that all being said, let me take a quick look at the one of our screens here on the Breezeway platform. Again, not to shamelessly plug what we're up to, but just a quick overview of what the platform looks like. This is our dashboard. So we want to make sure that, again, from an efficiency standpoint, you're using your time wisely and, not wasting any time with tasks that maybe shouldn't be attended to and are lower priorities. So what we're looking at here is basically just, our readiness, sort of the way we think about property readiness, and your tasks throughout the day. So our dashboard will surface up timely, relevant tasks and ones that need attended to before ones that don't. So let's say there's, for example, back-to-backs, 5 back-to-backs, and 5 properties with just checkouts. Any of those back-to-back tasks will surface at the top of this dashboard. And really, again, like we've been talking about, keeping that diligence with regards to your cleaning procedures, making sure that you're being super efficient with how you schedule and coordinate all those tasks for folks, whether they're in-house or in the field service partners, and really just leaving nothing up to the guest's imagination by way of communicating what you're doing with them, both from a marketing standpoint, more broadly speaking, but also from a hand-to-hand combat standpoint, communicating with the guests when they check in, before they arrive, and before they leave. So that's it. I think if there's a couple things you could take away, it's just that we've been doing this for a long time. We do work with a slew of property managers. We have decades of industry experience, and cleaning is literally what we do. And now it's disinfecting is equally, if not more important than ever. So don't hesitate to reach out. We'll be a resource. And special thanks, BookingSync. I don't know, do we want to open it up for some questions now, Audrey?
Yeah, perfect. Thanks a lot, Tucker, for this great presentation. It gives us really, really good insights and recommendations. So I will unmute the microphones now. If anyone has any question, feel free to ask them.
Not all at once.
I actually have one question, Tucker. Have you heard about any regulations/laws that could impact actually the vacation rental industry? I mean, so in terms of cleanliness, or like how the spaces need to be disinfected. I can imagine that maybe some laws or regulations taken by governments could impact our industry when it comes to this topic. Have you heard about it? Is it something you confirm, let's say, or you're also worried about? So
I totally agree with that. I haven't heard of anything yet, but I do imagine, like you're saying, Audrey, it's probably only a matter of time. people talking about the economy opening back up. It's a pipe dream within the short term. I think within the next, 8, 16, 24 months is when we'll really start to see things coming back to some semblance of normalcy. And at that point, I know that cleaning again is only going to become increasingly more important, and not because people are germaphobes, but because it's a safety hazard at this point. But the only regulations that I've seen, at least in the U.S. recently, are just with regards to different cities and areas, just sort of banning short-term rentals in general.
Yeah, that's something that happens in Spain and in France as well. I'm not sure if the reason was for safety. I think the reason was for people not to travel actually, or like for safety or for cleanliness and so sanitary aspects. But it probably will come soon. Next,
I mean, there really just are so many question marks right now with regards to when this will begin to open back up and what it'll look like after the fact. And I really just think Breezeway as a whole, and I know BookingSync, you guys are doing a ton of great work here as well. But how can we empower our customers who are managing properties through this crazy time to be proactive and be productive instead of sort of just waiting for it to pan out?
Definitely. I can imagine also maybe some kind of certificates that the properties will need to have if those regulations or laws are really being implemented. I think super important to keep an close eye on this topic and see the evolution. But I guess the link you're showing now on the screen, I also shared this link in the chat, and we will share it to our customers. It's
awesome.
Really important to follow and to track to see what's going on and how it will evolve.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, more than ever, again, cleanliness, attention to detail, showing your work, so to speak, is really just going to be top of mind. I mean, I'm curious to know, Audrey, do you hear people talking about that as well?
I would say for now, probably it wasn't the first, let's say, Rory of property managers, because anyway, there is no new bookings and people are not traveling. So let's say I feel like this topic is for now a bit on hold, but very, very soon it will become very important. So especially when borders will open up, or even travel inside one country. So basically when people will start to rent again and go to a vacation rental, I think the topic of cleanliness will be then the number one worry and important points for property managers to be aware of and to be informed, like how can they do it the best way, how can they provide the best services to the guests, and how can they also protect themselves somehow, that nothing happens in the property also. So for now, I would say it feels like, no, we didn't have that much questions on that, but I think it's a matter of time. It was just not the priority, I would say.
Yeah. People are more focused on the short-term goals and doing everything they can to get back to that point.
Exactly. But yeah, I do think, and we do think at BookingSync that this topic is really important, and that's why we also got in touch with you to have this webinar co-organized. So thanks a lot for the time you took today. Thanks to the Breezeway team, because I know Devin and Emily also worked on that with you. So thanks a lot, guys. I think we can close the webinar for now. And if anyone has any question, you see the email address of Tucker on the slides. You can also reach out at the BookingSync customer team, and we can do our best to help you.
Yeah, outstanding. Thanks so much, Audrey. Great to catch up with you again, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Thanks a lot. Have a nice day over there, and talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.
Right. See ya.
Bye-bye.